these laws being overturned?
Well, look, we continue to apply pressure. What we need to do, and what we are hoping for, and that's why we're grateful for platforms such as yours, is to try as much as possible is to drum up some public support around it. And I think it is growing, but to get a message into cabinet. And once again, you know, we appeal to Minister Nene, to Minister Davies, to Minister Patel. You know, you guys are part of this economic sort of cluster. I mean, SAA now reports into Treasury. You know, how is SAA going to turn itself around when your air ticketing revenues are 26% down year on year? And forget about the rest of the stuff. So, gentlemen, can you actually call Minister Kigaba to book? Because this has been perpetrated for no good reason, without consultation, which runs against every tenet of what we stand for as a democratic country. And the damage is clear. Even Minister Kigaba recently acknowledged that there's damage to the tourism industry. But then he sort of says, well, trust me, it'll go away. Oh, mate, well, I mean, you know, we're the experts. We're in the sector. And believe me, you know, I don't want to be sitting here in this masochistic thing going on about the demise of the tourism industry. I'm a tourism growth expert. That's why I do my job. My expertise is how do we grow destinations and how do we get up there and start rivaling the Aussies and get an 18% growth of 900,000. We should be doubling our tourism numbers. We've got an incredibly favorable exchange rate. It's 20 to 1 to the pound. We should have people stampeding in here. We've got great product. We are, and you know, we can speak about it. We have great family product in this country. You know, we're one of the best destinations in the world, and that's what my members sell daily. They don't sell it on Marikana and Kandla, talk about the bad stuff. They are the de facto PR agency for this country. They go out and sell South Africa as the best place to come to. And all we're asking government to do is to leave us alone and let us do what we do best, which is bring tourists here with foreign exchange, and we create jobs and you get lots of taxes.
Natalie, in your opinion, is it possible to turn this around without changing the visa laws?
Look, I am not an expert. I don't know if it's possible. I would like to think that it is. I think that this country has made some stupid decisions in the past that they've been able to overturn and change. So I think with enough people going, guys, this is never going to work. We need to look at the stats. I've heard some crazy stories about like family tourism businesses that were selling South African packages in China that have had to basically shut their doors and go like, well, we're not even going to try anymore. It's not worth it. So if you listen to that and if you look at the stats of what tourism does for this country and how that can be exploded by this crazy law, then I really hope that it can be turned around.
Natalie, you recently traveled to Athens in Greece, which I think most people would agree they would consider that a tourism destination in crisis. I was reading your piece about it that you wrote recently. Speaking to some of the people in Greece, are they having almost the same reaction we're having about their economic crisis when it comes to tourism?
It was weird because when I was there, the crisis was already a crisis. It hadn't reached its breaking point, which is where it is now. And I met up with a few locals who I'd kind of touched base with before I went to ask them questions about Athens and about Greece and about the crisis. And I think as a South African, I could really relate to their emotions and their feelings. It's such a beautiful place. It has so much history. It's got so much to offer. They love it so deeply and so desperately. But especially for young people in Athens, there's a feeling of like desperation, of like there's nothing for us here. We can't get out of here. What are we going to do? And when I asked them, you know, is this a time, do you want tourists to come? I think South Africans are quite wary, like we're not big on like exploitation. We don't want to go there and be like, lol, we're spending our money, you guys are having a tough time. And I asked them, you know, would you want to see more tourists? And their answers were like a resounding yes. Absolutely, please come. We are still the same people. Athens is still the same city. Come, there's so much to see. So, yeah.
This sounds very similar to what South Africans are saying about
Exactly.
South Africa. Is it just our turn to have a tourism crisis? And is this something that is going to blow over?
You know, I'm not a fatalist, but I mean, as I said in the opinion piece I wrote over a year ago, I said, you know, we always felt very sorry for other destinations. You know, the Kenyans and, you know, Egypt had sort of terror attacks. I mean, when the tsunami hit, you know, in Asia, or sort of earthquakes and that. You know, we've just been, you know, we've come out of a tough time historically, and we've we've rallied together, and tourism has been one of those amazing sectors where we have people who wake up every day and just work passionately for their love of the country, and have built an amazing sector. I mean, you know, with all the wailing and gnashing, as I say, we're the dream sector. We don't ask much. The auto industry, with all the sort of nonsense that you hear about it, and there's always issues and subsidy programs that are working or not working, and labour issues, they employ a sum total of 32,000 people. The tourism industry employs 1.5 million. You know, we are responsible for 1 in every 7 people putting bread on their table at night. So when people come and say, you're not concerned about the children, my thing is, I'm asking Cabinet, are you concerned about the children? Because by messing with this sector, you are jeopardising the ability of people to put bread on children's table every evening. And that is to me a dire issue. So what we need is a sensible discussion. We need people to actually take a bit of a cold shower, and let's look at this issue and come up with solutions. And there are solutions. You know, what the Aussies do is they start off with what they want, which is economic growth. Who's best to deliver it? Tourism. Well, what are the blockages? They identify who needs to fix those. So Home Affairs, you need a role here, Foreign Affairs, and they bring everybody in, and then they get to 18% growth, 900,000. We start off with what we don't want. We sort of a little economical with the truth, and then we exclude everybody from the debate.
When you put it
So
that way, it
it's a
doesn't
strange
make very
way
much sense.
to go about trying to grow an economy.
Natalie, what can bloggers and influencers do to help change the perception that's being created about South Africa right now?
I think we do as much as we can, and we're always involved in conversations about what we love about our country, what we love about our city. I mean, we're doing what we can, and
Yeah.
I get emails, questions about coming to Cape Town, questions about coming to South Africa. People are coming for long stays. Like, what can I do if I've got 4 weeks in South Africa? What can I do if I've got 6 weeks in Cape Town? Like long periods, which is so awesome to hear. And I mean, even the people who do have families and for who this is going to be really difficult with this new child visa law, they're still coming, they're still interested, they still want to come. But I mean, let's try and make it as easy as possible for them. They've already got the benefit of their dollars and their pounds. So I don't think that it makes sense to try now and make this really serious blockage for them.
What can we expect to see over the next few months in terms of conversations around visas when it comes to what you do?
Look, we plug away. Let me just say that we've got an incredibly astute and well-informed and sensitive Minister of Tourism. I mean, he actually understands the problem, but you know, he finds himself, I think, in an awkward environment within Cabinet around this. And the trouble is that there's only been sort of one view put on the table. I mean, and some quite spurious and disingenuous data. So, for example, the Deputy Minister at a public meeting stood up and said, what's all the problem? Less than 1% of people coming here are coming with families. Now, that's an absolute untruth. There's no basis to that. We have done the work. We've gone and done the data, and the reports we've generated are data-driven, and we go and extract hard data from companies and everything else. And from the airlines, the figure of people traveling with families is around 20%. It's not 1%. So, but if you're in Cabinet and somebody says, well, what's the problem? It's 1%, and everybody says, well, that's the truth, it doesn't leave much scope for debate. And that's what happened, is Home Affairs has crowded anybody out from actually having a sensible sort of discussion about this. So what we would like to see is that there is a chance for a review. I mean, the President announced it in his State of the Nation address. He still hasn't given effect to that. You know, we take you at your word, Mr. President. Let's have a review. Let's have a thing where we could everybody can put their data on the table. The National Planning Commission is a new entity that's meant to be looking after the country and meant to be looking and taking our economy forward, is the perfect vehicle to drive something like this. So let the National Planning Commission have a look at this, and we can all put our stuff on the table. And if at the end of the process, through a data-driven, transparent process, it's deemed that this is the only solution, I mean, everybody would, you know, we'll sell it for you. And I mean, that's the irony. If they'd engaged with us in day one, and engagement is not putting something in the government gazette and hoping nobody objects and then, sure, oh, well, we dodged that bullet, let's move on. You know, that's the sort of infantile attitude that we get from Home Affairs. It's like, of course this is going to have an impact on tourism. Why don't we proactively go and engage with them? And let's both sit down and let's come up with a solution. And guess what? We'll be your best salespeople. We'll go and sell it for you. but involve us in the process. Let's make sure it's the correct decision, and make sure it's a decision that balances, as Natalie says, balances this amazing country, all that we've got to offer, and the potential of tourism with the needs for security. Nobody's denying that. But the way it's been done has just been, I mean, it's been Orwellian, actually.
David, Natalie, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.